getting ready to do an interview live with Chris Impelliteri. Chris is a musician that is with the new, his band, the Impelliteri music that they have. New album is called Wake the Beast. It's worldwide. Well, actually was worldwide on September 30th. But let me just check and make sure we're live right now. And Chris will be joining us in just a little bit, probably about 15 minutes. Give me a second here, guys. Make sure that we can be seen and heard here. See if we can hear us. I'm on the show, Dan. What do you want? Soon. There's boxes up in the closet in our bathroom, all the way on the top shelf. Okay, Dan, I'm on doing the show. I can't talk now. When I'm done, I'll get you on. Okay. Hey, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Of course, Docg here. I am live. I don't see any comments. Let's share this to Facebook. And we'll see what happens with that. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody has a good had a good Halloween. And then we'll see who comes in and who talks to us. Sometimes these celebrities, they come in, sometimes they don't. It depends on who they are. They give them everybody a benefit of the doubt. Always benefit of the doubt. Now we should be live on Facebook as well. Let's check that. Let's check Facebook, make sure we're live there. And we're live at Facebook as well. Let's see if it's live. And right back to YouTube again. Now we should be live. Okay, so we're live on YouTube, live on Facebook. Okay. Anybody out there got questions for me as we get ready to talk to our guest artist, American metal band. Chris is based in Los Angeles. The Impelliteri catalog has been hard to find the majority of the band's fans in the Western world, with many fans having to buy expensive import copies direct from Japan, where the band enjoys a huge following. But with Global Rock officially licensing the full catalog between the years 1987 and 2010, the catalog will be made readily available. So cool. Of course, Chris is formed Impelliteri together with vocalist Rob Rock in Los Angeles. They first released an EP titled Impelliteri in 1987. The EP features heavy metal with classical influence, shredding guitar solos, screaming vocals, speed metal, drumming, and aggressive bass. It features songs like Lost in the Rain, Burning, which quickly gained the attention of heavy metal fans and musicians around the world. Graham Bonet as lead singer and released an album entitled Stand in Line. Let's see, after they regrouped. Impelliteri also played MTV. Music videos for Stand in Line and Heavy Rotation, and Chris Impelliteri was a guest host on MTV's Headbangers Ball. So you remember Headbangers Ball, you might remember Chris. Now, you guys know I'm friends with Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho is with the Fozzy band. Fozzy is heavy metal. I wonder if Chris Impelliteri knows who Chris Jericho is, the wrestler. They also did some stuff, it looks like, with different producers that produced Ozzy Osbourne. Chris Impelliteri was winning the Burn magazine readers poll for best rock guitarist. Wow, that's an award that a lot of people don't have. We'll see what he says when we talk to him. But we're waiting on the arrival of Chris Impelliteri. Any questions from you guys? Of course, I got my Jim Morrison shirt on. As you can see, Jim is singing at the microphone. Jim Morrison singing at the microphone here. See, well, I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite bands. It's one of the favorite bands that I have. I have so many favorite bands of the 60s and 70s. It's hard to put a certain thing on it because there's so many different ones that I love. Oh, excuse me. So we're just waiting for Chris to come, and we got about 6 minutes. Chris should be here hopefully soon. Chris, I think, might be calling in, or he might be Zooming us. We'll see what he does. We did have a problem last time trying to reach out to Chris. He had some things going on, and we'll see where this interview goes. But we've always had a lot of fun with interviews. We take the time to talk to these artists. We take the time to talk who they are and find out more about them, find out how they got into heavy metal. You know, a lot of doo-wop guys I'm friends with, or metal guys I'm friends with, like the doo-wop, and the doo-wop guys like the metal. It's like, okay. Well, I'm sure you guys know that Ronnie James Dio was originally, from doo-wop to heavy metal. So, I mean, it runs its own course the way it wants to run. I mean, I have nothing to say about it other than it's whatever works for everybody else. I know some doo-wop people, like I said, and they love different music. That's what we do here at Hamilton Radio. We give you different music. We give you the different sounds and different things that other stations don't want to lose their listener base for. But when you're a variety radio station, you literally have carte blanche to do whatever you want to do. Oh, who's coming? Is anybody here? Let's see if anybody's here. Oh,
hey, hello.
Is that you, Chris?
It is me.
Oh my God, we finally got Chris on the phone, guys. I'm actually live. Oh, there you are, Chris.
Hi.
Welcome to the show. Let me just get us on here on the radio and introduce you, and we can start. Are you ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm looking forward to this because I know last time we had some miscommunications, but it's okay. Everything's good now, so we're good. Okay, let's get started. So I'm putting us live on the radio. So we're live on the radio right now. We're live on HamiltonRadio.net. We're also live on iHeartRadio. We're also live on Live 365 and also TuneIn. So the people out there on Alexa, hello as well. I'm Docg. My real name is, of course, Gino DiPiero, as you see. Chris, I have Chris Impelliteri. I mean, you, my friend, welcome to the show. You have an amazing display of what you've done over the years. But I want to talk about your new record. I know that's why we're here. Let's talk about your new record. What is it called? Wake Up, Wake the Beast?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. And then I want you to give me a little rundown on how you started out in music.
Sure. Well, I can tell you Wake the Beast is a compilation of kind of like our best songs that we've done over the last 30 plus years. A lot of the music are really, it's based on our fan favorite tracks, I think we took probably 3 or 4 songs from each record that we primarily did in Japan and places like continental Europe. And we kind of compiled, I mean, this is kind of hard to explain. I'm doing a really bad job answering your question. Just look at it this way. For the people that have never heard the band Impelliteri, this body of music really represents who we are as a band, represents how we write music. It represents the hard side of us, the softer side of us, the technical side of us, you know, the reckless, punky side of us, you know. It has it all.
Yeah, I do want to talk about that too, because it seems like you were on MTV and you did some great, amazing things there. I want to talk about that. You were one of the Burned magazine's best guitarist around. That's amazing.
Yeah, those are kind of nice accolades. It's very humbling when that happens.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's really true or not, but you know, but it's humbling nonetheless.
Well, it gives you the motivation to continue on. And in your new album, is there some new tracks in there other than like an anthology?
No, to be honest, I mean, the music really for the majority of the world is brand new, right? I mean, this record is not for our diehard fans because they already have this music,
right?
You know, and you know, it's interesting. We recently got the legal rights back to our masters. And that's why it's finally come to fruition where we can release this new music. You know, legally, the rights, at least, were not in our possession. So unfortunately, a lot of people that were interested or curious about this band, you know, they ended up buying our music via really expensive imports. You know, so we always vowed when we have legal rights back to the catalog, we would release it globally in all the countries that it wasn't, you know, distributed.
Do you think that when you were out there that you were distributed enough to where at least people would like you and know you? Because the thing in the 80s, I mean, and MTV, I mean, I had a different life. Working 95 back and forth, and I'm not familiar with your band until I heard it. And I'm like, oh, I know that song. Did you get that a lot from people?
Yes. Yes. You know, it's interesting because around the time when heavy metal and, you know, our type of music was really at its height, it probably was around 87 or 88, right? And at that time, you know, when I remember when we did MTV, our manager said at that time, I think MTV was in like 25 million households.
Yeah, we had it on like constantly.
Yeah, so I mean, when they started playing our Stand in Line video and they had me on Headbangers Ball as like the guest, whatever, during that weekend, I remember, you know, like overnight, all of a sudden, you know, you go to the grocery store and people are like, hey, Chris, or whatever. And it was really surreal. It really was. You know, I always joke and say, is that like your 15 minutes of fame, right? But it was really an interesting time. And, you know, it was interesting. After that, though, rock music and metal really hit a brick wall. You know, all of a sudden, other forms of rock music was being embraced, more like the Nirvanas of the world.
Right.
And the one thing where we were pretty lucky, I don't know if it was luck or fate or talent, whatever, but we were never a hair band. You know, we were probably more of a thrash band or a European kind of rock, hard rock band than any of that stuff. So when we released Stand in Line and the first record, the Impelliteri Black EP in Japan, I don't know what it was, but the band exploded in popularity. You know, and it was interesting because I always look back in hindsight and I wonder what it was, because in all honesty, it wasn't like we were better than anybody else. You know, maybe we're at the right time. We had the right song and the right sound for the right audience. And voila, it created this amazing career. And from there, I think because of our popularity in Japan, it became systemic where heavy metal fans or, you know, musicians or whatever around the world started to hear about us. And that curiosity prompted them to go out and buy our imports, you know, buy our records. And so slowly we started to gain this massive cult following around the world. And that's kind of what we've attained today. The majority, they think Impelliteri is a disease. They don't even know it's a heavy metal band, right? So, you know, it's quite challenging for them. But, you know, the majority, you know, like I say, they don't know who we are. But the cult status we have around the world, it's unbelievable.
So are you guys have been playing like right through with the same members, or do you have like different members in the band now?
Since 1990, it's been the same band, guys. I mean, Rob Rock is still the lead singer. He started Impelliteri with me. The Black
Mhm.
EP, the first album, it
Yeah.
was myself, Rob Rock, a drummer named Lonnie Sullivan, a bass player named Ted Days. So in 1990 enters James Pulley, who's our current bass player. He's been with us ever since.
Wow.
The only rotation we've had, and this is where we become very much like Spinal Tap, are our drummers. Right. I mean, I could sit there and do a handful. We probably had 8 drummers over the years, all amazingly talented drummers, but for unknown reasons,
Right.
they they slip through our fingertips and they end up with Alice Cooper or whoever. So,
No,
but
I
for the
mean,
most part, it's been the same band.
yeah, and things in life happen. It's not that it's anybody's fault. It's just that the timing or something isn't right for somebody. I mean, I've had bands in the early 70s and late 80s, and we went through the same thing. The same thing. Should we get another guitar? Should we get another drummer? Should we continue on, or should everybody just do what they want to do? I mean, I've seen it happen to all my friends in bands. So I know exactly what you're talking about. Life has to, you have to take whatever course life takes you. I mean, unfortunately for me, I wanted to be in all kinds of bands, and it didn't work out. For you, it was fortunate. So you did wonderful. So on MTV, you think a lot of people know you from MTV then, right?
Well, no, I mean, certainly at that time, at that point in history, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. But
You
now
know,
you're kind of like unknown.
oh yeah, big time. I mean, I think we've, like I said, when I use that term cult, it really do. We have a cult following. Like, look, in the United States, I mean, I'm sure we could probably play maybe 1,000 or 2,000 seat places, right?
Yeah.
Venues. Our last show we did in Asia, we headlined the Busan, I think it was called the Busan Rock Festival.
Right.
We headlined, and I remember Rudy Sarzo actually played bass with us because our bass player, James, had visa problems, so he couldn't go. And I remember going over there and Rudy played with us. And when we got there, this was our first time playing in Korea, and we didn't know if 200 people were going to show up, right, to come see us. And we walked up on stage, and it was 30,000 people,
Wow.
you know?
That is so
So
cool.
the reason I'm telling you that is there are certain places around the world we go and we play these massive venues. Now, when we play like a couple of years before the pandemic, we did some of the big European metal festivals with like
Mhm.
Iron Maiden, Slayer, bands like that.
Right.
That's not really all of our audience, right? That's a lot of their audience. But in those parts of the world, I mean, I look out on stage and we're playing in front of 10 to 30,000 people, and that audience, every person in that audience is singing every word,
That's what
right?
you
They
want.
they know the music, so but that kind of, it's an interesting place to be, right? Because you come in the US and, like I say, most people think we're a disease. They don't even know we're a heavy metal band. But you go to other places in continental Europe or in Asia or whatever, and we're pretty well known.
That's amazing. I mean, again, looking at your career, and how did you get started in your career? What made you, number one, play music, and what was it like earlier in your life when you started out? Did you have like parents that were musician people as well?
Well, actually, so the whole music thing really, it started because of a tragedy. When I was 9 years old, both my mother and father died.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's totally cool. It's many years ago, and most of our fans know this. And so my grandparents, thank God, they were really young. They loved me. I loved them, etc. And it was my grandparents that encouraged me to play an instrument, do something that I could express myself emotionally, right? And of course, years later, they probably regretted it because I became obsessed with it, right? But it really became, it was like, it planted the seed out of this horrible tragedy in my life, right? I went to bed with a family. I wake up the next day as an orphan. The
Oh,
guitar became my family, and people always ask me, why does he play so fast, or why is there so much anger? It was really me just venting and releasing that frustration,
right.
that rage, and that anger in my solos. And especially you can hear it on the first Impelliteri album. And many records I hear it later on, but that's how the whole thing began, And of course it didn't hurt that, my first concert was Kiss Rock and Roll Over Tour, and then of course Van Halen. First Van Halen record, it was like, that was it. I'm like, I'm doing this. This is what I got to do.
And I'm sure you're honored by a lot of musicians. Some of your friends are with some of these other bands. Are you close to some of these guys?
Of course, you mean a lot of other bigger bands?
Other
Of
bands, yeah,
course. Oh,
yeah,
oh,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So you made a lot of great friends over the years. Did you collaborate with some of them as well?
No, I really didn't. We've always used the band Impelliteri. We've always used it as our expression medium, right? It's like it's really very personal to me and Rob, and of course during points of history when Rob wasn't there, it was Graham Bonnet and me, right?
Yeah,
But no, we really didn't do much collaboration. It's really the collaborations between the 4 or 5 band members, right? Versus going outside and working with other writers or other musicians. But it's not to say that I don't sit down and play with my friends, you know? I mean,
yeah.
of course I do. I have some great, amazing friends that are guitar players that are in some of the biggest metal bands in the world. They come to my house, we hang out, you know? So,
You say you have a great community around you of
yeah.
people that a couple of people you probably know, and I'm not sure if you do or not, but Steve Lukather and his son Trev Lukather, they're actually friends of mine. And we say we're friends, but we're friends on Facebook. It's not the same as you're having a beer with somebody sitting there, it's just not the same.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of similarities to artists that just play music and heavy metal. Of course, heavy metal is a little bit, I even heard melodic heavy metal, which is really, really beautiful. One of them bands I'm sure you know about in Christmas time is that big Christmas band that everybody knows. You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
And it's just it's a form of expression, as you said. It's a form of playing what you want to play, how you want to play it. Now, when you write the songs, is there a certain way you write the songs, or it's just like I'm going to write this song no matter what?
It's a good question. I mean, the way the music comes to me, I play my guitar. I'm in the house, and I'll play like 8 or 10 hours a day because, first of all, I love playing guitar. It helps me express myself.
Mm-hmm.
Not really good with words, but really good with the guitar. So what happens often is I'll be playing, and a lot of times I'm just practicing scales or soloing, and all of a sudden you slip and you play something. It might have been an accident, but it sounds really cool, and you're like, "Whoa, what was that?" And then you immediately try to play it again, and before you know it, it's like you're on this journey, and all of a sudden inspiration's coming to you, and all of a sudden you got the riff. And now we're into like the vocal, the first verse, and then in the
Right.
pre-chorus, and then all of a sudden you got the big chorus, and then the bridge and the solo, and before you know it, you've got a song done. And then of course, then I bring it to the band guys and say, "What do you think?" We rehearse it together, and they put their input in, and literally, I mean, that's how our songs are written.
I understand. So when you do the music, do you like understand some people that appreciate your music more than others because the genre you're in is like you said, it's a hard genre because a lot of people see you're actually you're lucky in one way because my station plays a little bit of everything. And what that does is it opens up the listeners of country music. Hey, I like heavy metal too, or I like, pop rock or classic rock. Hey, I like heavy metal too, and it brings them closer together. So I basically think that a heavy metal radio station, it kind of rules people out of them other genres. And I don't think that's a good idea because you never know. You may have another few million listeners out there in the other areas, but they never heard you.
Yeah. Look, when I was a little kid growing up in Connecticut, I remember I would listen to the radio and it was like they would play Queen, Deep Purple, and then
Yep.
Donna Summer and Stevie Wonder.
There you go. Yep.
And it was across, and it was so amazing because it was such a wide palette. And it really helped me become a better musician because I was exposed to all this amazing different type music.
Yeah.
Versus when everything got homogenized, right? It just, like in LA, it's either you're a rock station
Right.
or you're playing hip hop or you're playing country music, but God forbid you do all three on one station.
Yeah, I totally agree. So who's your favorite musician that you look up to?
There's too many of them. I mean,
It's a hard question.
Yeah, there's so many amazing musicians. I mean, I got to be honest, and I got to be careful when I start talking about the classical composers because then I get compared to other guitar players. But in all sincerity, my favorite composer is probably Vivaldi. You know, the
Okay.
Four Seasons,
Mhm.
the violin concertos. I mean, just a huge inspiration. Just love Vivaldi. Edgar Grieg. You know, love that stuff. More the Dangerous Hall, the Mountain King, stuff like
Yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
You know, I love Mozart. So I love those composers, and that's a huge influence on me on this day. But then, if you ask me who are my favorite guitar players, there's so many amazing guitar players. I
Yeah.
love them all. You know, it started with my favorites when I was a little kid. It would have been Eddie Van Halen, Randy Rhoads, Al Di Meola, John McLaughlin, Paco
Yes.
de Lucia.
All
You know,
right.
that would have been the beginning, right? The Blackmores, the Uli John Roths, all the way to the Ingves, the Vais, all the way to, you know, I have friends now, like guy I really love is in a band called Arch Enemy, friend of mine named Jeff Loomis, and Michael, you know, who's the other guitar player. Those
Right.
guys are great. I mean, I love the new player in Judas Priest, Richie Faulkner. I mean, there's just so many players. I love them all.
And I'm sure they all love you. When you create the music though, Chris, um, like you said, the reaction of the fans is so motivating to you to keep writing and keep doing what you're doing. Do you have a favorite venue wherever you go, or is it just like wherever you go, it's right there?
It's in the heat of the moment, right?
Right.
I mean, the band, we played so many different venues over the years. You know, I gotta be honest, people don't realize. So when you're playing these massive, like outdoor stadium festival kind of gigs,
Yeah.
it's very impersonable. And what I mean about that is the stage is like 70 feet across. So my bass player, who I'm used to playing, you know, 15 feet apart, he's like 40 or 50 feet on the other side of the stage. The audience, there's these massive barriers. So we're on the stage, but the audience are probably 20 feet away. You know, yes, there might be 20 or 30,000 people there, but it's such a massive distance. And I can still see the faces smiling, and it still feels amazing. But there's something about being in a more intimate, like a theater, where you're playing in front of 3,000 people and everybody's really tightly crammed, you know, it becomes a really unified experience. And I feel like, you know, the audience is on stage with us, you know, and so I always love those type venues.
That's nice. What about home studios? You like home studios? Because I know most musicians that I are friends with love the home studio more than a regular radio studio or recording studio.
Well, so we always do the majority, the big stuff of our records in a major recording studio, right?
Mhm.
We want that big room where you can, you know, you put room mics up on the drums and you can put the room mics 20 feet back and, you know, 15 feet up in the air. And, you know,
Yeah.
you can crank multiple amps up and you got ISO rooms so you can play together, you know. And it's not to say, look, I've got a very nice, expensive home studio as well. But, you know, for me, I always love the major studios because you can get everybody playing at once together versus, hey, everybody's sitting on the little chair sharing files. You
No, I
know,
get that. Yeah.
it's like, I mean, listen, if you listen to our albums, especially our recent ones, you know, listen to Victim of the System, listen to Venom, Nature of the Beast. I mean, a lot of that stuff is done together with the band in a live atmosphere. And I hear it when I listen, I go, oh, that's the band playing together versus, hey, let me send you a file. It's like, okay.
It doesn't have that same factor of like, you know, I want to be part of this, but you know, it's like, yeah, I guess whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. So your music that you have done, and you talked about the other bands as well. When you were with Graham Bonnet, what was that like to work with him?
So when Graham and I did our first record together, that was Stand in Line, right?
Mhm.
And at that time, Graham Bonnet was, especially in Europe and Japan, he was a legend. You know, remember, he replaced Ronnie James Dio on Rainbow. People don't
Right.
realize that. Richie fired
That's
Ronnie
true. That's
and
true.
hired Graham, right? And look, I love Ronnie. Ronnie was one of my favorite singers of all time, but it just tells you the notoriety. And now Graham, he was like, there was a huge age difference. I think he was like 17 or 18 years older than me. I was 21, 22, whatever. Or I must have been younger because I think he was still in his 30s when
Mhm.
we started writing Stand in Line. But I'll tell you, we struck up a friendship and I really love the guy. Just a great human being. Just nicest guy you could meet. Humble, right? For especially having the success that he had with a lot of bands.
Right.
So when we wrote the record, I'll tell you, the first record I did with him, which was Stand in Line, it was really difficult for me
Mhm.
because for the people that don't know about our band, our first album was with Rob Rock, and it was called the Impelliteri Black EP. There's a
Mhm.
couple songs on this anthology. One is Lost in the Rain, which is the first song we ever recorded.
Mhm.
It was almost thrash metal, with the screaming vocals, the real crazy technical fast guitar solos, double bass drumming. And it was almost like Iron Maiden, Judas Priest on steroids, right? But with Graham, when we brought Graham in, I didn't think I could write like that for him because I wanted one to be respectful for his legacy.
Right.
So it kind of forced me to be uncomfortable and write more towards what he had done with Rainbow. Right. It was almost more of a tribute to what he did during that era of his career. And so I was a little bit out of my comfort zone. It wasn't until we did the record System X where I was like, oh yeah, we're going to do real Impelliteri music, but Graham, you do your style of singing, That's
Right.
probably what we should have done with Stand in Line in hindsight. But, with Graham, it was amazing. And of course, remember when we went to Japan, the first show I played with Graham, it was at the Tokyo Dome in front of 65,000 people. I remember going down in our lobby of our hotel and going out to get into the vans or the buses or whatever, and just 1,000 screaming kids. It was insane.
Oh,
you
that's
know, versus coming here and the wife says, "Hey, can you take out the garbage?"
well, that's because you're close to home.
Yeah, it was really surreal. Remember, Graham and I mean, we shared a really beautiful historic memory together. Remember, we were on MTV at pretty much MTV's height, right?
Yeah.
And so that was a really special moment for us, and that's going to live on historically long after we're gone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have great memories of Graham, and the shows were fun, especially overseas. I think the last show we played with Graham Bonnet, it was a co-headlining bill. It was up near San Francisco. I think it was actually the San Jose Civic Center. It was Impelliteri and the Pat Travers Band. And I remember we played in front of, I know it was sold out. I think it was like somewhere between 3,000 or 5,000 people. Amazing show. And it was the last show with Graham, so at least for that period of time. Yeah.
Right. Well, music, as they say, just keeps growing. I mean, you mentioned a lot of great people in bands, and unfortunately, we didn't know who Graham Bonnet is here in the United States. We've never known him until you explained to us that he was in this band and that band. The problem with bands, and you probably know this, Chris, is and I tell this to people all the time, when the band is together, right? The music is out. The name is the band, right? Whatever the band is called. People love the music. If the person goes out on their own from the band, they don't know who that is. They think it's like an independent artist, a new artist. Oh my God, I never heard of this person. This happened to my friend David Patton, who was with Pilot, and then he was with Elton John, and it was Alan Parsons Project. So David always says to me, he says, "I'm the only person that's so well known but not known." It's a scary like a razor edge where you're in the middle. You don't know what to do. Yeah, you could create great music, but unfortunately, nobody knows who you are.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Listen, look, especially in the United States of America, to be part of pop culture, it takes a miracle, right? You need a very well-oiled machine of the right industry people, the right PR people, the right label, the right distribution method. You need capital, which means a lot of money behind you.
Yeah.
For the most part, it's why you have your Justin Biebers, right? Believe me, that's not cheap to promote those people. Yes, they have big social media followings or whatever, but the Kanyes and all those people, believe me, there's a massive machine behind them, but look, it's for us. We play our music because we love doing it. It makes us feel like we have a purpose in life.
Mm-hmm.
So, if we have to go fly and take an 11-hour flight overseas to Japan, or we got to fly over to continental Europe or whatever, so be it. I don't care. I mean, look, when I look out and we're playing in front of 10 or 20,000 people, I don't care what country they're in. If they're loving our music and they're sharing that joy and excitement, I get off on that, so be it. If we come to United States and radio won't embrace us, it's like, oh, well, what can we do? You know, we just, and believe me, we have a lot of fans around the United States. We get tons of kids always contact us going, when are you guys going to come here and play and blah, 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 you know, and we're always very apologetic. We're desperately trying to, right? But the machine that controls it, right, makes it a little difficult. So.
Well, I have a friend, he's in a metal rock band called Ripped, and he's actually going to be doing a CD release party, I think, in December. And if I don't mention him, he's going to kill me. So Stephen Keller, a good friend of mine, good guitarist and a great guy. He loves heavy metal, and I love it too. Do you have any last words for anybody out there about starting in the business?
Well, first of all, if you're going to be a musician and you want to be in a band, do it because you love music, because you love being an artist, right? Creating. If you're doing it for money, the probability of you succeeding is 1 in a million, 1 in a billion. You know, I mean, look, this is where I say luck, fate. I'm not sure what it was, but we got really lucky that the band exploded and did so well in Japan because it gave us financial freedom. Had we not had success in Japan, I don't know what we'd be doing today, you know? So it was right place, right time, right music, whatever. So, you know, my advice to people that are getting into music, do it because you love it, you know, and that's it. And the rest will come. I mean, look, we're 35 years into this music business. And I tell you, we're still, even though in some countries we've made it, right? We've attained that success, right? But we're still, every record we do, we give it 100%. Like, we're still trying to make it. We're still trying to get accepted. We're still trying to be loved. Right. But we're doing it with that passion of, we love this music, you know? And so, you know, our message to people is, yeah, do it because you love it. And that's it. And you can hear it. I mean, like, this is a good thing too, to kind of end on. For most of you who probably don't know who I am or this band, Impelliteri, if you hear the first 3 songs on this anthology, I think it starts, what is it, like Victim of the System, Perfect Crime, Into Power of Love.
Yep.
If you don't like us by the end of those 3 songs, you never will. So
they're the best of what you have, and then the rest just gets better, is what you're saying. I agree with that. I definitely agree with that.
It's just, you know what I mean? It's like I just think we have a specific sound, right? So those first 3 songs, it either hits you and it touches you, right? Or it does not. Right. You know, if you're a musician, yeah, I think song 5 is 17th Century Chicken Picking. That's where, okay, instrumental show off time, right? But those first 3 songs shows who the band is. And you get both singers. You get Rob Rock on Victim of the System, the first song. Second song, you get Graham Bonnet. So you get a good taste of what's to come.
Right. And it's an amazing band. Guys, you got to check it out. Where can they get your music at, Chris?
You know, as far as I know, it's distributed everywhere now. I know I've seen it on Amazon. I think Target just sold out. So I don't know if they're restocking. So pretty much anywhere you get your music, it should be available.
And any music videos on YouTube? Because I know a lot of bands do that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, if you want to see Impelliteri, I mean, just go YouTube. Make sure you put the name Impelliteri. Do not put Chris Impelliteri. Because I do a lot of stuff for like endorsement companies, right? Where I'll sit in a little room with 50 people and show the, you know, the equipment, and kids post it on YouTube and people think that's the band. And I'm like, that's not the band.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. If you go to YouTube, you can watch, I mean, some of our recent videos. There's a video called Venom, meaning Impelliteri Venom. There's another one. What is it called? Face the Enemy. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff on YouTube. Google away and, you know, enjoy yourself. You may have to laugh at us because it will be a little Spinal Tap at times, but it's fun.
Oh, you know, we appreciate it, Chris. I appreciate your time too. Is there anything that can you do a sweeper for me for the station? Because what I'll do is I'll play your music around the sweeper and I'm trying to get a heavy metal show together, and I'll include you guys in that.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
So what you can say is, I'm Chris Impelliteri from Impelliteri, the band, and you're listening to Hamilton Radio.
I'm sorry, say again?
Listening to Hamilton Radio.
Oh, of course. All right, tell me when you're ready.
Whenever you're ready, Chris.
All right. Hi, this is Chris Impelliteri from the band Impelliteri, and you are listening to the awesome Hamilton Radio.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Chris, for being here. And again, wish you a lot of luck with the, the anthology of the album, and anything you need, just, you can reach out to me anytime through John Lappin, and we're here for you guys.
Thank you, man. I'm humbled to be on your show. Thank you so much.
And I'm